Obviously, a disappointing outcome on Saturday night. We talked about it last week. UNLV had been playing close games, and I thought at halftime it was exactly what I thought it would be. And we are a team of what-ifs right now. We have so many opportunities squandered that if we'll block one guy, guys are wide open. Or if we'll run through a tackle, it'll be an 80-yard touchdown. Or if we pull the ball out, it's fourth down. That's kind of who we are. And we need to be more aggressive to change our luck and have a chance to win games. You can't turn the ball over. We had been pretty good on defense on sudden change through up until Saturday on 12 turnovers. We'd given up 13 points. And we gave up 17 points immediately. That's doesn't matter where they get the ball. Our objective on defense is to keep them out of the end zone, and we didn't do that. They scored on the first play on the 4-yard fumble, and then we had a third down stop that the call went the wrong way, in my opinion. But that's human nature. I mean, they're not trying to mess anybody up, so we got to create our own luck by getting that ball out and not letting them score on the very next play. And turnovers killed us. We can't turn the ball over and have a chance to win. And then when we get behind, I've said it all season long, we're not built to be a drop-back passing team. So when we get behind 2 scores, we can't do what we do on offense. I mean, we rushed for 260 yards in the first half. And we weren't able to do that when you're down by 14 because if we take a drive like we did on the very first one, it's going to take 8 minutes off the clock and we're going to run out of time. So obviously we've got to continue to recruit to be able to throw the ball in those situations. I think our running game right now, what we're doing is dangerous. Obviously, we need to be healthy to do it. Isaiah's got his ankle rolled up a little bit. Here's the worst part of I've heard the triple option stuff, the running our quarterback stuff, you're going to get your quarterbacks hurt. We're getting hurt in drop back pass because we can't protect them. We're not getting hurt running the ball. Trey Hall, really disappointed for the young man, broke his ankle, had surgery yesterday. We'll get him back in the spring. I think he'll have a really big senior year. It's too bad because he was coming into his own out there at wide receiver, slot back, and made a great play, broke a tackle, got down to the goal line, and just bad luck the way it got rolled up on. And then Isaiah hurt his on the fumble. We don't fumble the ball, he probably doesn't get hurt. So CJ came in. CJ's a true freshman, and he made some true freshman mistakes. He made some good runs. He's got some athletic ability, but obviously he's not good enough for us to win with yet. We didn't capitalize in the second half, and then we turned the ball over the very first play of the second half. When I talk about what-if football, if we can block a guy for half second, we got 2 guys running down the field scot-free. And it's going to be a completely different game if we can complete that for a touchdown. And instead, the very next play, we fumble it, and then we hold them to a field goal, but now it's a 1-score game, and we never got back into rhythm. So we've got to change our own luck, create our own luck. Nothing's changed. They'll show up. They showed up today with good fight, and we'll prepare to go have a great opportunity against a really good football team who they won't be ranked in the CFP anymore, but they were 23rd in the country. That speaks volumes about our conference. We had 2 teams in the CFP top 25, and if you look at the CFP top 25 compared to the AP and the coaches poll, they're not even close. So I don't know who's right, but it's pretty interesting. But we got a great opportunity this week. Go ahead, Brandon.
Fresno State, when they've been at their ceiling, beating the likes of UCLA and nearly beating Oregon, and they're great wins this year, what have they done well when they've been really successful?
Well, quarterback's really good, and they protected him. They've got 3 great receivers. Both the running backs, Ronnie Rivers and Jordan Mims are really good. Mims is the one that took the 186 yards on us last year. Ronnie didn't play against us. He's been back and healthy the last couple weeks. Played against Boise on Saturday. Now, Boise played really, really well. In the Oregon game, in the UCLA game, I don't think Jake Haener could miss. He's a really good quarterback when he has time. I thought they out-physicaled San Diego State 2 weeks ago in that game. So they've got the ability to play both styles. I think they're a really, really good football team. And you go to the Rose Bowl and beat a good UCLA team. You beat a really good San Diego State team. That's San Diego State's only loss. You take Oregon, who's in the top 4 in the CFP, all the way to the wire. You have talent and ability, and Coach DeBoer does a great job. He's getting them to believe in what he wants them to be, and it's a great challenge. And playing in Fresno, they've got a great stadium. They've got a great. I mean, they had a sellout Saturday against Boise State. It'll be senior night, and I mean they'll go and celebrate those guys. So I mean it's a great task and challenge ahead of us.
Coach, the way Terry hurt his elbow, is it a possibility that he might be finished because for this season?
There is a great possibility that we might not see him again. So we evaluated every day, did not practice today, and we'll keep moving forward.
And it could be, I'm saying that it's because swelling is unpredictable, and when stuff can't go back where it's supposed to go.
For sure. I mean, as long as it took him to get that thing out, it's obviously transformed to be a lot worse than what we had hoped. So we're practicing with the guys that are available. That's why we'll keep rolling.
And you say Isaiah's ankle,
he's all right. He practiced today. Isaiah will be fine for Saturday. And we got rolled up pretty good. He's a tough kid. He actually got cleared to come back off of that. And then you got the very next play where he got rocked on it was helmet to helmet. And that one right there, the helmet to helmet, I'm glad they don't call that targeting because the defensive player was there's nothing else he could do. He's not coming. He's not targeting the guy. They just hit helmet to helmet. And that's going to happen. And most of the time they do throw the guy out. And we're actually in a deal with the coach deal. They're trying to review that rule because there's some unintended things that happen sometimes when guys when the offensive guy is going down to the ground, there's nothing you can do to avoid it. So I don't believe it was targeting. I'm glad they called it the way they did. And then Isaiah got cleared from the concussion protocol. I think in that time his ankle kind of stiffened up on him. If we could have kept him on the bike and kept him moving around, he might have been able to go. But it swelled up towards the end of the game, and then it was pretty swollen yesterday, but it's not a high ankle sprain, so that's different than other things. And the way it looked, I thought it was going to be a high ankle sprain. So, I mean, Isaiah's a tough kid, and he'll do all the stuff right to give himself a chance to play.
You said he wasn't, at post-game, you said he wasn't explosive off of it. Do you think he's there now in practice?
He looked a little better today. He wasn't 100% by any means. But he was able to run out there at practice and move around. And then we limited his reps so that we don't get the swelling continued, so that we can continue the rehab and do some of those strengthening things. But we'll have a better idea on Saturday, well, really Thursday.
Trace Bruckler, you got some of these young players. That class, it looks like it's going to be pretty solid once these guys become upperclassmen.
I think this class and the previous class both have some really, really good players in it. When you talk about the maturity of a football team, and I mean, I've made no secret about it. This is a 4 to 5 year project of what we're doing. It's a complete rebuild. I mean, we've got a lot of guys that are learning on the fly, and the 4 months that we weren't together during COVID really hurt the weight room aspect of it. So some of these guys still aren't strong as where they should be. Last offseason was a good start. This offseason will be very, very important to develop of all of them. But we've got some guys in that class. I mean, Trace Bruckler, like you said, Isaiah's in that class. Ronald Wilson, Tavian Combs, Connor Widoff, Tay Lanier, Luke Wysong. I mean, we've got some guys that we can build something on. Now we need the ones that you don't know about, the Isaiah Silamons, the Issei. I mean, our young offensive linemen that have played sparingly. They're not physically ready, partly because of the time they missed in the weight room, but they're athletic and they can move around. And Greg Brown, we'll get him back. He had shoulder surgery. Jamarcus Bailey, Lecca. I mean, those guys are really athletic compared to what the guys that are playing right now. Now, give the guys credit. I mean, you can't rush for 260 yards and not do something right. And so the coaches have given them a good plan. We've just got to be able to do it for 4 quarters and not get behind. Can't turn the ball over.
When you think about the future of this program, I know you can't really speak about it by name because they haven't signed yet or whatever, but I mean, you've got a couple local guys, who are coming next year. I saw you offered a couple people, outside of this region too. When you think about the 4 to 5 year plan that you want to put in place, what are the types of guys that you're looking for?
Physical, hardworking, good character. I mean, they've got to play. They've got to be kids that understand how important it is to do everything right, and that traditionally comes from successful football programs. I think high school coaching has a lot to do with it. If you take a bunch of kids that have never won you're going to struggle trying to teach them how to win, because I think that's learned from a very young age. I think it has to be important. Building the evaluation process, which has been the worst part of COVID. I said it last week, our intention is to visit every single high school coach in New Mexico. And we haven't been able to do that. The first time we were able to be on a high school campus was 2 weeks ago. And I've been on this job for 2 years. That's unheard of. We haven't had a great chance to go down and visit the kids in Las Cruces, the kids in Lovington, the kids in Artesia and Roswell because of COVID. So, I think that makes it hard to evaluate kids' character. So, and with the transfer portal, you'll see more turnover. I think there's a lot of places that will have more turnover than us, because the kids that we're getting normally haven't been recruited by a lot of people. Our job is to evaluate people and project young men, and we've been pretty good at it, projecting kids that are going to be really good. My fear is we have good kids, they're going to be recruited off our campus if they're really good. But that means we're doing a good job, and we'll find them and we'll fill in holes with those guys. I think now that we've had two classes and we're working on a third one, we'll probably find a couple of grad transfers for some areas that we need immediate help. But it has to be, it's really hard to recruit junior college kids unless you recruited them out of high school. The junior college kids you're going to get here, especially if you take multiple, which we will never do, they're not going to be good enough to win at this level. They're not. That's the reality. What Bill Snyder did at Kansas State is unbelievable. And at a Power 5 school, you're going to get a better pick than at a Group of 5 school. So you need kids that you can have around here to develop for 4 to 5 years. And then once you get to that 3rd, 4th, and 5th year, then every class behind that, if you do it right and you recruit right, that's why I think continuity on a staff is so important. You have to have the same principles and the same ideas. You have to evaluate the same kids. And so that's the vision of the 4 or 5 year program. And then locally, I think we've done a good job. The kids understand that we're going to offer them. We can explain how the scholarships work. And if they don't want to jump in, we're going to move on. And that's okay. And the high school coaches understand that. That's not just New Mexico kids. That's every kid we recruit, because scholarships, there's over 2,000 kids in the transfer portal. That was an unintended consequence of that deal. But there's a bunch of kids you can go evaluate in there, and that takes away scholarships from high school kids. You want to build a great program, build it off high school kids.
You talked about how when you guys lost the game at UTEP, it was hard to get them back around again. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that they were more resilient this time?
I thought today's practice was, the energy and the effort was good. We still have to learn how to practice in a physical manner that translates to Saturday. I think that's still a learning process. We're a little bit, like every football team in the country right now, after 9 games, you're a little bit banged up. So you have to manage those guys that are really beat up so that you can try and get them to Saturday, but still teach them what to do and how to do it. That's an interesting process. But, the toughness that we're fighting through some of those things. Trey Hall breaking his ankle and trying to get off the field by himself. That is a mental toughness deal that is becoming who our program is. We're in the early stages of it, and I think that's important. What did you ask, though, Van? I don't know that I answered your question. I got off on a tangent early.
No, I was asking you about, how you said that it took him a while to respond.
Yeah, sorry. Goodness gracious. After the UTEP game, I thought we expected to win. I really did. And after the game, there was a lot of hurt and emotion in the game that there's probably guys on this team that put so much in and it hurt when they lost that they might second guess that. And that's part of learning how to win. I think they fully expected, obviously, everybody in the world expected us to beat UNLV, except for probably the people on UNLV sideline. They believed they could beat New Mexico. And I tried to convince our kids that. I knew they were capable of beating us. There's not a team that we play that we're not capable of beating, and there's not a team that we play that's not capable of beating us, especially where we're at and the tender nature of where we're at in building our program. I thought they were out there with good energy today and good effort. We'll see over the next few days, and we'll have a better idea on Saturday if they were all invested and they're willing to put that hurt back in there. we'll see.
I guess Terry might have a medical redshirt left. Is there any talk about that?
Haven't even discussed that. Nope, not yet. We'll figure that as we get to the end of the season.
Is there any possibility to bring a transfer quarterback next season?
For sure. That's a possibility every year, unless you have a Trevor Lawrence that you know is going to be your starter. When you're relying on true freshmen to come in and try and help, it's really hard. I mean, you have to be special as a true freshman, but you have to be surrounded with talent to be successful at the quarterback position. When I was at Arizona State, we had Jaden Daniels. We had 2 first-round draft picks at wide receiver that he was throwing the ball to, and a second-round draft pick at running back. 4 guys that played in the NFL on the offensive line. Well, he was really successful as a true freshman. Why? Because he was surrounded by unbelievable talent. Trevor Lawrence was surrounded by unbelievable talent. We're not surrounded by unbelievable talent, so it's really hard for a young man to change the speed of the game. So if you're counting on true freshmen to come in and play, now there's some of them that are good enough and can help you, but you're better off if you have somebody that has an experience. I mean, the Terry thing, because he got hurt, hadn't worked out the way we thought it would, but that's always an option. Junior college quarterbacks are really hard to evaluate. The speed of junior college is nothing like what we play. The parameters of what they have to do is hard to see, and then the best junior college quarterbacks are going to go to the top schools in the country. So you have to be lucky with the JC quarterback if you're going to go that route. What else?
How important will it be to get pressure on Haener and not let him have all day to throw?
Significantly. You've seen what we can do in coverage when they have time. We're not good. And most people aren't good if they have 5 to 6 seconds to sit back there and throw. I mean, that's almost impossible because with all of the high school 7-on-7 and all those things that kids do and it makes me a little bit sad that there's not as many 3-sport athletes as there used to be because they do football all year round and 7-on-7. I mean, it's become AAU basketball. Well, they've gotten really good at throwing and catching the ball. And so it's really hard to cover a guy for more than 3.5 seconds. And we struggle with a 4-man rush. We cover them. If we send pressure, we're pretty good in coverage. I mean, the very first play, very first third down of the game, Tony Collier made a great play, knocking the ball out on 3rd and 1. The first 2 3rd and 1s, they tried to throw the ball. If he gets a little bit better break with his clean eyes, he probably intercepts that thing for a touchdown. But if you stand back there all day when we send a 4-man rush, Jake Haener will pick you apart. So if we're going to send 4, we got to do it creatively. We got to find a way to get pressure on him. We found a way to get pressure on him last year. So guess what? They're going to practice all that stuff. So you have to have a significantly different game plan in order to help our guys out. And I mean, we've obviously got to get better in the secondary, but we got to get better up front because those guys. And when I say we're not good enough in the secondary, we're not good enough to cover them without pressure. So that doesn't mean we don't have good players. It means we're not good enough on either end to be able to be successful yet. And we got to continue to develop it. And like Corey Hightower, he's been here for 5 years. He's played as many games as really a true freshman, a redshirt freshman would have played by now, and he's starting to become a really good corner. He's got 2 games left, or 3 games left, excuse me. And that's kind of depressing for him because he's actually got a taste of being a good player. I mean, he almost kept us off the feet, got us off the field with a great tip to himself, almost made an acrobatic catch that would have been a huge play in the game. I mean, he's just barely getting his feet wet, and he's going to be gone in 3 games. So stuff like that's kind of frustrating for some of those guys because they've been here for a long time. But we've developed him in a short time, and we got to continue to develop those guys.
I talked to Hightower, and he was talking about how Redford had so much, believes in him so much, it just makes him, he wants to perform because the guy believes in him. He wants to let him know, hey, you believe in me. I'm going to make this, I'm going to live up to your belief.
I think that's the majority of our football team. I think the coaches have done a good job selling what we're trying to do. I think there's times that we have to get after them. There's times they need to be loved up. I don't think mother effing and all those things is coaching. I mean, there's times to get after them, like I said, but you've got to, my father taught me from a young age, if you want to get someone's attention, talk to them like this. They'll hear it. They'll listen to it because they're afraid they might miss something. If you yell and scream and cuss at them all the time, it's just white noise. It's easy to see all those and just this, and they may look at you, but they ain't getting anything. And I think they understand that we have their best interest at heart, and we believe in our football team. We go out there to compete and have a chance to win. Now it's the players that win. Coaches don't win games. Players win games. We can screw them up and lose games, so we got to coach them better. Go ahead, Sam.
Danny, you talked about having the skill position guys different. You had some guys who were NFL talents. Certainly, this season we had COVID earlier in the season, kind of messed some things up with the wide receiver group. But overall, football, like production-wise, football-wise, what's been the biggest difference from the first couple of games of the season?
The opponent. Houston Baptist obviously has turned out to be not very good. They're 0-9. New Mexico State's really good on offense, struggle on defense. So we were better than those guys. We played really good against Wyoming on defense and did a great job with what we were trying to do on offense in that game. We didn't turn the ball over. We were really good on third down. We controlled the clock, so we were able to come up with a game plan, and our kids did a great job of executing it to win the game. In the first half, outside of turnover, the biggest difference Saturday was turnovers and third down. We made those plays against Wyoming. We didn't against UNLV. And we're at a very fragile stage that if we don't do everything right, we don't win. I mean, we have to be almost on point and be perfect because we're not talented enough to make mistakes. And we don't, honestly, we don't play hard enough yet to overcome not knowing how exactly to do it. And so that's all. I mean, most of that stuff is in the off season. Most of that stuff is trained in the off season, in the weight room, going from bench press to squat. You sprint, you run. When you don't have them for 4 months, it's hard to do that over a computer. And that's where the majority of your toughness and team makeup is made, is in the off season. That's why it's so important. So that's the difference between, one, the first two opponents. We were better than they were. They weren't very good. And then the rest of the games, we've done things to hurt ourselves. Now, schematically, we've given ourselves a chance the last couple weeks on offense. But we can't throw the ball. Everybody knows that. We're one-dimensional when it comes to playing football. We can run the ball. And the last 2 weeks, we ran it pretty effective. But if you get us to a point where we're behind, well, you saw the result. So that's why in the development of this, obviously, we can't be one-dimensional. Can't be. I mean, you can't be a triple option team and be one-dimensional and win championships. You can't. Now, what we do running the ball effectively and the way we do it schematically, shoot, I've been a defensive guy for a long time and had to go against that stuff. It's impossible to stop on the chalkboard and really hard in 3 days. And if you can throw it, everybody in this room, go Google search Coastal Carolina on offense. They're leading the country in total offense. They run for 300. They throw it for 300. I mean, they're unbelievable. Pretty interesting stuff. So, now they got good players. Give them credit. They got great players too. They have 7 transfers from the SEC that are playing for them. So they got good players.
What's the plan for Rico?
Rico will redshirt. We will have Rico Hanna back next year. We have another year for him to play. So there's certain guys on our team that are at the 4-game count. If you want to go back through and look at Frank's wonderful stats, you could probably find it, but I'm not letting it out so that make people do some work to figure it out. If they really care who's playing, they'll do that work. And if they don't, then they'll just go, you know what, we're going to line up against the ones that they put out there. There's 11 sticks. We'll know where they are, or we won't know where they are, and we'll play them. So, but Rico Hanna will be with us next year, I'll tell you that. And that's exciting news for the Lobos. If we would have had Rico for 5 years, he'd probably be our Lobo because he's athletic and he can do those things. He's become a really good outside linebacker. He did some good things on Saturday night. He's strong. I mean, he bench presses over 400 pounds. He's got the right attitude. So he'll help the 2022 edition of the Lobo football team.
Anything else?
I know you got a big game on Saturday, but we're going to see you at the pit the next 2 nights?
Oh, yeah, I mean, if we get out of here from watching film again at practice, I'm excited for Coach Pitino and them. I mean, Friday night, my wife and daughters were at the game since we were at the hotel having meetings, trying to get ready to play a game. There's some, obviously, Mashburn's an athletic guy. If you watch Twitter, I mean, that was one unbelievable dunk. Jalen House, who I was around at Arizona State, I mean, his dad is a legend, so he can obviously shoot, score, and do all those things. It's exciting times. And, I mean, if Coach Pitino was standing up here, he's going to tell you that they're rebuilding because they've changed the entire roster, and he's right. So give him time because he's going down the right path. It's exciting time for Lobo athletics. It really is. As miserable as losing to an 0-8 UNLV team is, and as miserable and cranky as I get around here with everybody, we're going the right direction. Coach Pitino goes going the right direction. Heather obviously has her team rolling. She's on her 3rd contract. They believe in what she's doing. I think Eddie's done a great job evaluating coaches around here. Joe Franklin's doing an unbelievable job with the cross-country and track program. John's doing a great job with the volleyball program, from where they came from to where they were and how competitive they were today. They had a misfortune at the tournament, so be it. They had a great season, and he's building something really good over there. Coach Russell's going to continue what our tennis programs have done. So this community is a big part of this. Show up. Show up in the pit. Put your mask on over your nose and cheer on the Lobos. Show up to Mike Bradbury's team games, the women's games. Cheer on the Lobos. Show up here for the next 2 weeks. In 3 weeks. Show up. We got one more game against Utah State. Last time they played Utah State here on the last game of the season, there might have been 500 people in the stands, as the story goes, as I keep hearing. We had 14,000 people there. It was awesome on Saturday for a 3-5 football team. Now, we had a little bit of momentum because we beat Wyoming, and we screwed up the momentum. We screwed up some of the momentum we had in the community after that. We didn't lose the community, but we've screwed up some momentum in the community. I had to do that on purpose, Steve, sorry. I know that there's a lot of people in here. Now, people want to be a part of something that winning, and I get that. You want to spend your hard-earned money on something that you expect to win. We'll get there. Promise, we'll get there.